हेलो फ्रेंड्स। तो मार्केट न्यू हाई पे हाई बनाया जा रहा है और ऐसे टाइम पे हमारे पास क्वेश्चंस होते हैं कि क्या करें, इन्वेस्टमेंट्स को आगे कंटिन्यू रखें, प्रॉफिट बुक करें और ऐसे बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस। तो इन सारे क्वेश्चंस का आंसर देने के लिए आज हमारे साथ हैं डेलन पिंटो, जो कि बंधन म्यूचुअल फंड यानी कि जो पहले आईडीएफसी म्यूचुअल फंड हुआ करता था, यस, रीब्रांडिंग हो चुकी है टू बंधन, एंड राइट नाउ ही इज मैनेजिंग मोर देन 1,000 crores of rupees, एंड सेकेंड ही हैज टोटल 12+ years ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस। एंड ये पूरा कन्वर्सेशन इंग्लिश एंड हिंदी मिक्स होने वाला है, बट आपको डिफिकल्टी अंडरस्टैंड करने में नहीं आएगी। सो लेट्स स्टार्ट। वेलकम गाइस, टुडे वी हैव Dylan Pinto with us. He is with IDFC Group from 2016 and right now it's renamed to Bandhan. He's handling more than 1,000 crores of fund. So he's today with us. He's going to share his views so that we can create wealth or I would say enter in the market. So यहाँ पे beginners के लिए भी काफी कुछ होने वाला है and experts के लिए भी काफी कुछ होने वाला है. So let's start with the most burning question. हर बंदा यही पूछ रहा है कि market is making new high. Should we invest or should we wait? And I'm asking a question from a person who is already handling 10,000+ crores. So let's hear him.
Firstly, thank you, Lokesh ji, for having me on the show. I think the whole idea of investing in the stock markets is so that there is a new high. So this market making new highs, I've been hearing for 20 years. And I'm very glad that the market has kept making new high. Otherwise we would not be wanting to invest in the stock market. It's a very good talking point. A lot of noise is made around it. But, markets are supposed to make new highs. And that is how wealth is created and wealth is generated over long periods.
This is first time I'm hearing कि if market is making new high, it should be the point of happiness कि last 20 years से new high बन रहा है. So we can consider the pattern and in future it will again make new high. So those who want to maybe invest for a long term, they should join the crew.
That's right. So long term investing, in that journey you will see the market making new highs over a period of time, and that is the journey we all want to be part of. That is the journey we believe is still exciting and is and that is the future we look forward to. In the current context, I think one must be of course always careful also about people talking about new highs and a lot of euphoria that also happens when the market touches a new high. The market touched a new high in October 21 when the Nifty had roughly touched about 18,500, and since then the market actually has not given much return over the last 2 years if you think about it. So this market touching a new high should also be looked into the context that for the last 2 years equities have not really generated a large amount of wealth. But 2 years is a very short period of time. That's also something that's very important. And we always talk about investing in equities for 5 to 10. We never talk about investing into equities for 1 or 2 year time periods, right? So whether it's a new high, whether the fact that the market has not given a return for last 1 or 2 years, I think all that is not relevant when we think about long-term wealth creation, which is usually at least a 5 to 10 year time period. When we look at equity investing. So I think that is how we currently think about the markets are at new high and whether you should invest or not. I think clearly if you have more than a 5 to 10 year view, there is no doubt to our mind that you should be putting money in the markets and letting that money.
So many people when definitely would be trying to connect you कि अभी market high चल रहा है, should we stop our SIPs or increase or pause? What do you suggest them? I mean, what should be their course of action right now?
I think the market varies between cheap to expensive.
Okay? Correct.
And today, when we look at valuations of the Indian market, we are not cheap, but we are not expensive as well. So I think we are somewhere in between, right? Is there some amount of euphoria in certain stocks in certain sectors? Yes, there is. And that is something that we have to be careful of. But when we think about equity as an asset class, are we in a very, very expensive phase of the market where usually for the next year or two, you may not make any money, as was the case in October 2021? I think we are probably not in that phase. The other thing that I think all investors must keep in mind that when we invest in equity, there will be time periods where the market corrects, 5, 10, 15, maybe even 20% at times. There will be those phases. That's part of the journey. And that is not something to be worried or afraid of, but that it's just something that one should have at the back of the mind. Right? Our experience tells us that when markets are between the fair value and the expensive zone, and SIP STP is a better strategy
Got it.
rather than coming in one time. And when the market is at the cheap end of the value zone, then a one-time or a lump sum type of investment is the right strategy.
Got it. Got
Even
it.
where we are today, I think SIP STP is the way.
Okay, SIP is the best way you are saying right now because it's fair value. I would you are saying it's fair value in the range. Okay. Now my next question is, since you are handling so much of money, I would say, as compared to the retail investors, and you are seeing the industry from very closely, I would say. So in this time, many people I meet and they say, ki, yes, mutual fund sahi hai, Lokesh, I understood. But from where should I start? I mean, what should be my first investment? And I'm considering they want to invest for next 5 years. So if you can suggest any one fund, even if you are suggesting for Bandhan Ka, that will be amazing. I mean, whatever fund you are handling. और हाँ, one very important disclaimer. I'm sure आपने इसको सुना भी होगा. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all schemes and document carefully.
So I think investors have to select funds dependent on what their risk appetite is.
Okay.
That risk appetite is fairly individualistic. So maybe someone who's young can take more risk. Maybe someone who's fairly elderly will want to take less risk. So I think mutual funds, Sahi Hai is a good platform where all of us have a variety of products that suit everybody's needs. I think that's the first part. If you ask me, we've always noticed that long-term alpha creation usually happens when you have a good mix of large, mid, and small caps in your portfolio. The large caps add some sort of stability over the long run, and the mid and small caps, if they do well, if they grow well, they add that alpha, that extra alpha that we are all looking for from equity investing over a long period of time. You know, the best strategy probably will be to have some sort of multi-cap oriented fund in your portfolio. So from Bandhan stable, we have two such products. One is Bandhan Sterling Value Fund, which has a large cap exposure of almost 50% and a mid and small cap exposure of the remaining 50%. And we also have Bandhan Multi-Cap Fund, which, as the name suggests, is a fund which will have minimum 25% in large, mid, and small at all points of time. So we believe for investors who are willing to take a little bit of risk, who are willing to stay in the market for the next 5 to 10 years, these strategies, will probably be the most rewarding to our bank.
So as per you, multi-cap would be very good way to generate alpha from here. One more thing I want to ask about these funds. I was looking the FlexiCap fund also, like the Bandhan FlexiCap fund also. So if a person has to choose between FlexiCap, because FlexiCap is also large, mid and small ka mixture, and multi-cap is also similar kind of thing, but there are fixed proportion.
Yes.
So when should a person choose Flexi and when should a person choose multi?
So I think a person with a lower risk appetite should choose a flexi-cap fund.
Okay.
Because what we've seen in the industry as well is most flexi-cap funds have a large cap weightage of anywhere between 65 to 75%. Whereas if you look at a multi-cap fund, all multi-cap funds cannot have large cap exposure of more than 50%. So automatically it means that flexi caps will have a higher share towards large caps as compared to multi caps as a category I'm talking about. And therefore, to that extent, an investor with, I would say, a slightly lower risk appetite would prefer going for a flexi cap fund. Whereas an investor who is looking at a very long time period, a multi cap would be a more appropriate strategy.
Got it. Understood. And there is one more fund, which is one of my favorite, Bandhan Sterling Value Fund.
Yes.
What is the philosophy behind that particular fund? Who should choose that particular fund, or कैसे invest करना है, कब invest करना है?
So I think, if you're an investor that wants something different from a thought process perspective, if you're an investor that is looking for or is willing to take a slightly higher risk, Bandhan Sterling Value Fund, I think, offers that kind of avenue. What we've done with the fund is that we look at it or rather we define value across three segments. So one is value across market caps. So sometimes large caps look more attractive than small caps. Sometimes small caps look more attractive than large caps.
Correct.
So value is defined across market caps. Value is defined across sectors. So sometimes the IT sector looks more attractive than pharma, or pharma looks more attractive than IT. Right? So value across sectors. And then the third aspect is, of course, value across stocks. So within a sector, which are the stocks that you would like to select. So I think value investing as approach is not just about buying cheap things, but it is more being contrarian, being buying companies, sectors that are today not the darling of the stock market. Over a 3 to 5 year period, they can become the darling of the stock. And that is when their real value will be known to the market. So it's a style that requires patience. It is a style that requires a lot of conviction in your call. But we've seen that the results are good if your calls are right. So I think that's really how we think.
Understood. I think viewers can understand how much complexity or effort and research it takes to actually pick the stocks and create a portfolio and generate alpha return for you guys. And आपको क्या करना है? सिर्फ इन्वेस्टमेंट्स शांति से करते रहना है, इकोनॉमी पे भरोसा करके.
Yes.
आपका टाइम, एफर्ट, एनर्जी, व्यूअर्स, ये काफी कुछ आपका बच जाता है. बट फिर भी मैं एक इस पे और क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहूंगा. Many people think कि म्यूचुअल फंड इन्वेस्टमेंट इज अ लेजी वे ऑफ इन्वेस्टिंग और वहां पे स्लो पैसा बनता है. लेट्स पिक स्टॉक बाय आवरसेल्व्स एंड ट्राई टू जनरेट multi-baggers. So I know you are doing that particular thing daily with large chunk of money. Obviously, every fund manager is trying to generate the return, and they are directly competing with these fund managers or the person who has more resources, time, effort, energy they are putting. So उनके लिए क्या suggestion है, क्या view है? If you can give them a fundamental core things, thought process wise, कि वो कितना difficult है या easy है या hallucination है, whatever is your I'm open for your view.
So investing is a boring business, number one. Sometimes laziness also pays in investing, right? So which means that you buy something that you're convinced about and you hold it for a long period of time.
Correct.
Most people unfortunately think of equity market as a casino. The equity market is not a casino. Everyone wants to make money very quickly. Everybody wants to look at multi-baggers that will happen in the next 5 years or next 8 or next 10 years. But we've seen that great companies and great investments are built over decades, not built over a few years. So you do have examples of some great companies that do well or have been built over the last 10 years. But the chance of you actually buying that company and making money, to my mind, is very limited. It's a very low probability, right? And that's why having a portfolio approach is very important, because you could lose a lot of money if you didn't buy the right company. And most people always talk about winners, they never talk about losers. When you add the winners and the losers, you suddenly realize that the returns that you've generated might be much lower than boring mutual fund. So I think that's where people fall for the storytelling of a lot of people, rather than actually look and calculate the real returns that have been generated by mutual funds over the last 20 years.
Got it. I think I can relate with this. A farmer who is maybe 20-30 year experience, even he cannot tell which seed is going to become the biggest one.
Correct.
What he does is select a healthy 100 seed, put it on a farmland, nurture it, and over the time 50-60 perform, and then that's how he become net producer.
That's right.
And people don't look that particular thing as a portfolio. Sometime वो hallucination या फिर blind spot आप कह सकते हो कि blind spot हो जाता है कि they look at that particular only one seed कि यही सबसे बड़ा था, यही मुझे choose करना है, that's it. And they forget कि all the people are doing the same thing.
Yes.
All the fund managers, fund houses, I mean, they are continuously doing that particular thing. So it's very difficult to actually beat.
So just to add to your farmer example, if I might add.
Yes, definitely.
A lot of people ask fund managers, market क्या लगता है?
हाँ, market क्या लगता है? Yes.
ऊपर जाएगा, नीचे जाएगा in the next 3 months, 6 months. It's like asking a farmer who has 40 years experience कि इस साल बारिश आएगा क्या?
He don't know.
He also does not.
Correct.
He does the farming with the view that rain can be extra, rain कम भी हो सकता है, right? Normal monsoon भी हो सकता है. And in all three outcomes, he will survive. And next year, if rain is better, he will make even more. So I think the whole point of the farmer is to spread his risk across 100 seeds, as you said. And at the same time, in case market goes up or market goes down, it means rain ज़्यादा आया, rain कम आया, जो भी है, he survives to farm next year also. So I think investing is exactly the same example as you gave about the vice farmer.
Amazing thing. And for us, that farmland is our economy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's moving forward. That's it. And I will add one more point. Investing is obviously about optimistic. The way you said कि farming के लिए वो optimistic है कि होगा अच्छा ही और ऊपर नीचे होगा तो हम संभाल लेंगे.
Yes.
Optimistic है कि होना अच्छा ही चाहिए. Now my next question is कि when you pick businesses, you pick businesses to include in the portfolio or remove from the portfolio, how much effort, analysis it takes if a person has to feel the heat कि कितना effort, कितना time, energy लगता है. और इट्स लाइक कि पार्ट टाइम जॉब, सुबह उठे देखे और हाँ ठीक है इसको करते इसको नहीं करते.
So for us, it's a full-time job where we have a team dedicated to this whole process of investing. We have a full team of analysts. We have also a full team of fund managers. All of them have years of experience tracking different sectors, different stocks, and the collective knowledge of the team is what comes into play when we are building a portfolio. So just to give you an example, I might be very good in the auto sector. But I might not have much knowledge about the pharma sector. That is when somebody in my team who has good knowledge about the pharma sector helps me decide on whether I want to be overweight or underweight. If I want to be overweight, what stock should I buy? So I think that's where the collective team effort comes. A lot of research is done. Quarterly results are followed. Managements are met. We talk to other analysts, other people on the street who have knowledge. So a lot of work is done before we construct a portfolio, before we decide to buy a business. Because ultimately you're giving your money to somebody else. So a lot of work, a lot of experience goes into understanding which companies do well in which cycles, which managements have got a very good reputation, which do not have a good reputation, which companies have certain strengths and weaknesses. So all this really goes into the entire process of deciding which businesses to buy, when to buy them, at what price to buy them, right, and how to construct the portfolio with all these businesses.
So ये क्वेश्चन पूछने का सबसे मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव ये था कि आपको इसकी क्लैरिटी आए कि इट्स अ फुल टाइम वर्क. इट रिक्वायर्स एफर्ट, रिसर्च, एनर्जी, बहुत सारी चीजें इसमें लगने वाली हैं. मुझे आपके पास ये ब्लाइंड स्पॉट ना हो कि अरे यार ये तो पार्ट टाइम चीज है, ये तो ऐसे ही हो जाएगा. ऐसे ही नहीं होगा. शॉर्ट या छोटे पैसे के लिए देखा जा सकता है, बट आप जहां पे 10 साल 20 साल की कंपाउंडिंग देख रहे हो और आप सोच रहे हो कि बड़ा पैसा बने मेरा, तो उस केस में आपको एक कंसिस्टेंट प्रोसेस लगता है. ऐसे में या तो आप फुल टाइम उस पर वर्क करो या फिर आप म्यूचुअल फंड जहां पे आप माइनर चार्जेस दे करके इसका पूरा वेल्थ कंपाउंडिंग का पूरा फायदा उठा सकते हो. सो ये मेन मेरा ऑब्जेक्टिव था इस क्वेश्चन को पूछने का, ताकि आपके माइंड से ब्लाइंड स्पॉट्स हटे. आपको डिस्करेज नहीं करना है कि यस भाई स्टॉक खरीदो ही मत, ऐसा नहीं है. आपको ये समझाना है कि अगर आप वहां पे जा रहे हो तो आपका एफर्ट, एनर्जी बहुत ज्यादा लगने वाला है. बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू स्टॉक मार्केट, सम पीपल गेट हेलुसिनेटेड. 25% के नीचे अगर कोई बता रहा है तो मतलब तो ये क्या है, क्या किया इसने, कुछ नहीं किया, तो यहाँ तो मुझे बहुत ज्यादा ही चाहिए. सो वो ब्लाइंड स्पॉट हटाना है. दैट्स माय मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव, सो दैट पीपल शुड गेट एजुकेटेड. आप सबके काउंटर व्यू भी होंगे एंड आई एम ओपन फॉर दैट. प्लीज कमेंट योर व्यू आल्सो गाइस. नाउ लेट्स मूव टू नेक्स्ट फेज. सपोज आपने जैसे 3 फंड का नाम बताया और उसमें से किसी ने कोई चूज किया और इन्वेस्ट भी किया. नेक्स्ट फेज इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फेज. 2 बटन तो ऐप में दिखती है, बाय एंड सेल. द थर्ड बटन इज इन हेड एंड दैट इज होल्ड. कितने टाइम होल्ड करके रखना चाहिए? मिनिमम आपने 5 ईयर का एक टाइम फ्रेम तो दिया हुआ है, आपने कन्वर्सेशन में बताया, बट फिर भी एज अ इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए कितना मिनिमम टाइम फ्रेम उनको इन्वेस्टमेंट मिनिमम रहना चाहिए अच्छा खासा वैल्यू जनरेट करने के लिए?
I think to our mind, the longer you hold, the better your chances of creating wealth.
Sometimes people try to switch between 2 म्यूचुअल फंड, कि ये म्यूचुअल फंड लिया है, फिर हम देखते हैं दूसरा वाला परफॉर्म कर रहा है एंड देन से कि इससे स्विच करता हूं या उससे इससे स्विच करता हूं. उस थॉट को आप कैसे बताएंगे कि क्या सोचना चाहिए उस टाइम?
So I think mutual funds also go through their own cycle. There are some funds that perform well in one type of market. There are some funds that do well in a different type of market. There are funds that do well. Sometimes small caps do well, sometimes large caps do well. So my advice would be to never chase performance. It is something that usually does not work in the long run. And that's why we always recommend people, just like how we have a portfolio of stocks. People have a portfolio of mutual funds. And once you have, built that portfolio of mutual funds, I think you have to give time to that particular fund manager. My view is you should give at least 3 to 5 years. And the other is that It's not always about giving the highest return because the highest return also comes with highest risk. It's not always about trying to own only the best performing stock or the best performing fund. There are risks associated with that strategy, and chasing those returns never really makes sense. So I think the portfolio approach with a very clear thought process of what is a good return for me. For someone, 10% return is very good. For somebody, 12 is very good. For somebody, 15 is very good. So I think you have to have some realistic target in your mind and build a portfolio accordingly. I think that is the best way to approach investing rather than only to try and get the best performing asset class. That is not how I think investing should be.
Whenever a person enters into one mutual fund, that's what I have seen, दूसरा वाला फंड अच्छा परफॉर्म करने लगता है उसकी नजर में, उस टाइम पे वो अपने आप को कन्विंस तो करना है, ये हमको समझ में आया, बट कैसे समझाए फंडामेंटली उसको क्या 2-3 चीजें याद रखनी चाहिए कि अच्छा देखो भाई ये चीज मुझे ध्यान रखनी चाहिए, ऐसे मैं चेस करता रहूंगा तो हमेशा वो टिकट की लाइन में ना सेकंड वाली लाइन ही जल्दी
एकदम सही एकदम. आई थिंक दैट इज वेयर द रियलिस्टिक असम्पशन ऑफ व्हाट इज माय टारगेट. अगर मेरा टारगेट है कि मेरे को 12% कमाना है हर साल, कंपाउंडेड रिटर्न फॉर 5 इयर्स शुड बी 12% CAGR, और जो फंड मैंने सेलेक्ट किया उसने 12 या 13% दे दिया, आई शुड नॉट बी अनहैप्पी कि कोई दूसरा फंड 14 दे, बिकॉज हो सकता है कि इन द नेक्स्ट 5 years द फंड दैट गिव 14 might give 11 एंड द फंड दैट गिव यू 12 might give you 14.
हाँ,
वो भी हो सकता है,
वो भी हो सकता है, सेक्टर रोटेशन होगा आपने बोला जैसे,
और एंड बाय मिस्टेक यू हैव सोल्ड द फंड दैट गिव यू 12 to run after the fund that gave you 14% और उल्टा हो गया. So I think this is an element of greed, has to be taken out. And if you're happy that मेरा range of return है 12 से 14%, जो fund मैंने invest किया it gave me that return.
So I think you are summarizing it कि objective based planning. If my objective is suppose after 5 years this is my goal, मेरे बच्चे का education है, बच्ची की मेरी शादी है, जो भी है 5 year, 7 year, 12 year, 15 year, 16 year के मेरे goals हैं.
Yes.
And I calculated कि अगर ये 12% से मेरा फंड चलता रहा, कि मेरे ये सारे काम ये विड्रॉल के साथ हो जाएंगे, लेट्स ट्राई टू फाइंड ओनली दोज फंड, मतलब अगर मेरा फंड अच्छा 12% से ऊपर दे रहा है, एंड दैट्स वेरी गुड थिंग. अब अगर ये कैटेगरी एवरेज या फिर कोई स्पेसिफिक चीज उसमें आ गई है जो गड़बड़ हो गई है, तो फिर चेंज करने का कोई लॉजिक बनता है, करेक्ट?
सिंपल है सर, यू आर अ बैट्समैन, और बॉल छक्का नहीं मार सकता.
परफेक्ट, कि मतलब वो बस सुनने में अच्छा लगता है कि पहली बॉल पे छक्का मारा है तो ये अब तो 50 ओवर में 300 गेंद है तो इतना रन बनाएंगे, बट ऐसा होता नहीं है.
सिंपल.
सो वन पर्सनल क्वेश्चन आई वांट टू आस्क. सो ये मेरे म्यूचुअल फंड से रिलेटेड काफी क्वेश्चंस थे व्यूअर्स के लिए. एक पर्सनल क्वेश्चन मुझे आपसे पूछना है, द वे यू आर मैनेजिंग फंड एंड हैंडलिंग इट, कितना स्ट्रेस, प्रेशर या किस तरह का लाइफस्टाइल रहता है, सोच किस तरह की रहती है कि यार इतना बड़ा पैसा है, लोगों का पैसा है, ये बढ़ते ही रहे तो ज्यादा अच्छी बात है, इकोनॉमी में मैं वैल्यू ऐड करूंगा, लोगों के परिवार में, उनकी फैमिली में, किसी के बच्चे की शादी करनी होगी इस फंड से, किसी का कुछ करना होगा, आपके ऊपर पर्सनली कितना स्ट्रेस रहता है?
आई थिंक फॉर मोस्ट फंड मैनेजर्स द फंड इज लाइक अ चाइल्ड टू देम, इट्स अ बेबी, and they have to take care of it, and more importantly I think it is actually somebody else's baby because it is the hard earned money of our investors. It's not it's like me taking care of somebody else's baby, right? And you have to grow that child, and you have to nurture that child, and you have to deliver an adult over a period of 18 years that everybody is very happy to see.
Wow.
So that puts a lot of pressure, and I think a lot of focus is on short-term performance. To my mind, is something that we should start to look at differently. So I think as the market matures, as investors mature, mutual fund is still a fairly young industry as far as India is concerned and the investors are concerned. I think as that maturity comes, I think automatically people will start to appreciate 3 year and 5 year and 7 and 10 year track records rather than worry about कि 6 महीने में इन्हें भी ऊपर गया कि नहीं, या 1 साल में outperform किया कि नहीं. That is the journey, and that will help fund managers also take longer calls, maybe have less short term pressure, which I think is good because most mistakes are made when you're under pressure, and I think managing the pressure is very very critical to our job.
And next एक और पर्सनल क्वेश्चन है, आपका पर्सनल गोल क्या है इन्वेस्टमेंट को लेकर के?
I don't have any personal goal. My wish and my hope is that we continue to deliver good returns for our investors as we have done over the last few years. And I think that's really what we work towards. And we really wish that our investors enjoy the overall journey, enjoy the overall experience, and achieve all their goals based on the money they entrusted with us. I think that is really what gives us the most satisfaction, because I think as a mutual fund manager, you're really touching so many lives that personally we don't know, but the smallest of smallest amounts of money are in our funds, and if we can change those people's lives, by giving alpha, by generating alpha, I think that is the most meaningful part of our job.
आई थिंक आई कैन अश्योर यू कि जो भी आप फंड मैनेज कर रहे हो, रियल ग्राउंड पे मैं देखता हूं लोगों को, किसी की बच्चे की शादी है, किसी के बच्चे का एजुकेशन है, एंड देन दे कम एंड विड्रॉ दैट मनी, दे फील वेरी 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 हैप्पी. ऐसे बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट एंड दे थैंक मी, एंड बिलीव मी, मेरे माइंड में चलता है कि यार ये फंड जो मैनेज कर रहा होगा, जो बना रहा होगा, कितना प्रेशर होगा. सो गाइस, दिस वाज मिस्टर डेलिन पिंटो. दिस वाज अवर कन्वर्सेशन. अगर इस कन्वर्सेशन का आपका कुछ फीडबैक, व्यू, थॉट प्रोसेस है, प्लीज डू कमेंट.
We are very happy that people like yourself are helping. You are also doing a very critical job by helping people, bringing people to understand how long-term wealth creation can happen.
सो आई होप इस वीडियो से आपको सीखने मिला होगा. इसके अलावा अगर आपके कुछ और फॉलो अप क्वेश्चंस हैं जो आप पूछना चाहते हो, अंडरस्टैंड करना चाहते हो, तो क्लियरली आप कमेंट सेगमेंट में पूछ सकते हो. ठीक है, सो मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वीडियो में. थैंक यू सो मच एंड जय हिंद.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.